One of the dozen arguments I've had with Stan over the years is he swears that he dialogued every single Ditko Doctor Strange. I keep telling him he didn't. He goes, oh yes, I absolutely did. I offered to bet him $25,000 one time. And he wouldn't bet me. But
I want a piece of that.
How did he determine?
It wasn't even me who heard Eddie, of course, because Don Rico had written one, and two or three other people had written one.
I told him that. Yes.
There's about 4 or 5 of us.
How did he determine, or do you know how he determined what he was going to pass on to you, what he was going to give up?
It tended to be the things that he thought he could spare the most, because he certainly loved working with Ditko. But Doctor Strange was, you know, a minor little script in the back of the book, you know, and everything, even though he loved working with Ditko, so that was a fairly easy one to give out. And then he and Steve weren't speaking to each other, so why not give it to somebody else? I could not speak, at least I could talk to Steve if he came in the office, which I did occasionally, or Stan, and he, you know, somehow had some radar, so they never even ran into it once in the office. They must have been some kind of radar.
Did you understand Doctor Strange's world? Because I got the feeling that Stan never did. It was just kind of double talking.
Worse than that, I never even read the damn thing. I bought the book, but I liked the Human Torch and Sergeant Fury more because they were superheroes. To me, the magic stuff was always, you know, you get in trouble, and you just say a spell and you get out of it, and everything. And of course, I loved that when I took over writing with Gene Colan later. I loved doing that kind of stuff, but you just say a spell and you get out of it. But I never really liked reading that kind of comic too much and everything. So now, of course, I look at an idiot. The Ditko Doctor Stranges are 10 times better than those Human Torch stories for the most part. But at the time, that was my taste.
Now, Gary, how did they determine, or maybe you wouldn't answer this, how did they determine what strips they gave you? Why did you wind up on Sergeant Fury and some of those other strips?
There seemed at first, as I recall, to be sort of a method in which was passed. You start out with Billy the Model. And then whenever something else came along that Stan wanted to give to Roy, then Roy at that time would be running Sergeant Fury, so Roy would move up to the X-Men, and I'd move up to Sergeant Fury.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
And when they got something else that they wanted Roy to write, they took him off the X-Men and moved me up to X-Men. They didn't have anybody else to write Sergeant Fury, so I kept writing Sergeant Fury too, and continued to do so for years.
Now, if Stan had said to you, called you in one day and said, you can have any book in the place, which book would you like to do?
To me, it would have been Fantastic Four. That was always my favorite Marvel book. The one character I really didn't want to write ever, and of course I became the second person ever to write it, was SpiderMan. And now I'm working up to just almost 10 years of working with Stan on the SpiderMan newspaper strip, which is a lot of writing, you know, 10 years worth for a character I didn't ever want to write. And I wrote those 4 when Stan went off to write a movie, and that was it. I loved the character, but I didn't want to write it. But the thing, from the moment that I and bought 2 copies of Fantastic Four off the stands in 1961, not in 1962, as they say in the new Marvel Chronicle book, where Stan says he started in 62. He doesn't even remember that. From the day I did that, and I remember I showed it to Gary soon afterward. I think we were at your dad's place where you had a car lot? Used car lot. And I remember I brought it down there. Yeah. You were selling Fords or used whatever.
Yeah, my dad had a Ford dealership.
Yeah.
And then the later became just a used car lot.
But from then on, the Thing became my favorite of the new characters. I just loved that character from the minute that I saw it.
Now, what book would you like to have done?
No, I don't know. It's been a long time since I thought. SpiderMan, of course. Why not?
It's all yours.
Or anything that Gene Colan do, I would love to have done.
Well, that's my next question. Favorite collaborators, favorite artists you work with. Name 3 people you really like working with.
Well, I had a choice. I hardly ever got to work with Gene, but I love Gene's artwork, and I was just a huge fan of his, remains so to this day. I would love to have done more with Gene. I loved working with Mike Klug. We didn't get to work together a whole lot either. We had a good time in the few books we did. Probably I enjoyed working with Mike more than anybody else.
One more name.
I enjoyed working with Dick. Dick Ayers and I got along great. We did a lot of issues of Sergeant Fury and Westerns and you name it.
Okay, well, only 3 people you like working with.
I'm glad you're listening because, you know, I asked more. Well, if I wanted to start this, it would be John Buscema, John Buscema, and John Buscema. If I wanted to evaluate a little further, John would be still probably the very favorite. And after that, even though it was a briefer time, Barry would have to be very near the top of the list. And probably Gil Kane, who could be a real pain because he was always skipping out or quitting a book halfway through, who I just loved. But I mean, there were so many, Rich Bucker, Ross Andrew, but those three as much as anybody. And strangely enough, they were the first three people ever to draw Conan.
Okay. Now, when you work with John Buscema for thousands of pages of Conan and other books, the impression I always got with John was that he liked to cut down the talking scenes and expand the fight scenes and the visuals, things like that. When you were plotting something for him, did you ever fake him out and tell him you needed more dialogue scenes than you did?
No, because the thing is, when he was doing the Avengers, he almost had to, and he didn't, but I don't know if he was ever really trying to cut that out. But of course, he preferred the action. He hated drawing superheroes anyway. SpiderMan, that's the worst character ever invented. Shows, that's why he wasn't the editor of the company. And he hated doing the Fantastic Four. He didn't care much for the Avengers. I mean, Stan grabbed him off it, but he probably would have loved to be off it because if you don't like drawing superheroes, what's drawing 5 or 10 of them? So he didn't really like any of that. But he did enjoy the stand-up talking, especially those early days before he became more of the Kirby clone. When he was doing those first dozen or two Avengers, when they'd stand around in really dramatic poses. It was like something between Al Foster and, I don't know, Bert Hogarth in a way, really dramatic poses and so forth. And he could make it really, really, terribly interesting to have a talking scene.
Okay. Now, Sal Brodsky told me one time that, this is probably around the same era when you first came to work for Marvel, even a little before, there were a lot of guys who came up to look for work there, artists, and Stan would look at their work and say, that's DC, he's a DC artist. We don't want that kind of stuff in our books. He was looking for something different. Can we articulate a little bit what it was about a Marvel artist in that period? Eventually there were pretty much interchangeable DC and Marvel artists, but there was a period there where there was a DC look and a Marvel look.
Well, he was mostly looking for Jack Kirby's lost cousin, separated. But he didn't really try to get people to draw like Kirby. It's just that whenever he'd get examples in the early days, he would always drag up Kirby because who else are you going to get? He would use Ditko. He would use a few others.
What was it about Kirby?
It was the fact that it never looked dull. I mean, it's not that Jack couldn't draw dull. Sometimes in later years, he'd just draw people standing around. It could look dull. But for the most part, Jack's conversations, if he was standing around, if he was shouting practically, or they had facial expressions that made everything looked exciting. So when you looked through it, something looked like it was happening, and they didn't look like a bunch of Alex Raymond characters kind of where Flash Gordon looked like he was lounging even when he was zooming around the planet Mongo. But other than that, it's a little hard to stand just. For example, there was never any question of getting somebody like Gene. You could get John Buscema, John Romita to draw like Kirby. Romita wanted to anyway, and Buscema admired Kirby, even if he didn't want to draw like that. But Gene Colan, there was never any hope of getting Gene Colan to draw like anybody except Gene Colan. But because he had that dynamism, everything looked exciting, or if it didn't look exciting, there was something about the integrity of the realism of the faces that substituted for it. So it was a case more of something seeing it. He'd know it when he saw it, if somebody had something new, and if he didn't, he just fell back and draw like Kirby.
Gene was the first guy at Marvel, really, in the superhero level, to get away from those 3-tier pages, to start doing taller panels and different shapes and things like that. Do you remember anybody commenting on that, or any reaction to that?
No, because he had started about a year before I got there doing Submariner, and I remember thinking as a high school teacher and reader, this is different from the usual thing. It wasn't as if, say, Wally Wood had gone over into doing this, I guess he was originally supposed to. It would have been a little bit closer. At least it would, and Kirby and Ditko, they were all out of the same thing. But Gene, even though you see his old stuff, he drew like that, but somehow, once he started drawing from just a plot as opposed to a full script, I think that's what really liberated him, whether he wanted to do it or not. Once he came over from doing all those romance comics, where he had done his standard tier stuff, and suddenly he was kind of free, and he could draw a 4-panel page, which was great. You draw 4 pictures instead of 6, you get the same right, which wasn't too high anyway. So he started evolving the system, and I think that's really, I think that the plot system was very liberating for a number of artists, and I think Gene in particular.
At that time, you had working for Marvel, Gene Colan, who was working under the name Adam Austin. You had Mike Esposito working under the name Mickey DeMeo. You had Jack Abel working under the name Gary Michaels.
But we didn't want any DC artists.
You had Werner Roth working under the name of Jay Gavin.
Yeah.
all these people had one thing in common. They were all fleeing from